Alright, so we're almost done. So all we have to do now is answer a couple of questions and complete the Excel spreadsheet plot. So here's all the information from Part 1 of your lab report form, which deals with Boyle's Law. So we're going to have to plot this. And then we've got the information for our chart, and the information for our chart actually looks like this. And then we've got some questions dealing with Part 1. Then we have the experimental data for Part 2. Here's all our calculations for Part 2. You're going to show me all the work for explanation for your calculations for Part 2 in the section that says show work. And then you've got a couple of questions about Part 2. Okay, so going back to our plot, how are we going to do a plot? I don't care specifically what particular way you use to do your plot. The way I have page 2 of your lab report form is I've got this set up so this part is what you would use for your paper plot. If you're going to do your plot on paper, you can use this. If you're going to do an Excel spreadsheet plot, you're going to do this. You don't have to fill out both sets of data because this is what you need for a paper plot, this is what you need for an Excel spreadsheet plot. If you want to do the plot using Logger Pro, you can also use your Logger Pro plot. That works just as well. But if you're going to use Excel, I would suggest that you use this chart. This chart is really just a duplicate of the chart that you have from the front page, except that it is labeled correctly and it's in the correct format that you can just put it in directly into the Excel spreadsheet and just use this for your plot. If you're going to do a paper plot, you'll have to do 2 separate plots. If you're going to do an Excel spreadsheet plot, you can put all the data in the correct order where you've got where this is volume, where this is pressure, and where this is 1 over pressure. This has to be in atmospheres. This has to be in 1 over atmospheres. And this has to be in milliliters. So as long as you have the columns exactly like this, then you should be able to very easily do the Excel spreadsheet plot. I'm going to explain how to do the Excel spreadsheet plot, and I think everybody knows how to do a paper plot, and if you consult the textbook, it gives you information about how to do the Logger Pro plot. The Excel spreadsheet is available on any computer that has Microsoft Suite in it. The Logger Pro plotting is only available on the computers that are in the computer room on the 3rd floor, because that's the only place where that program is available. And of course, you can do the paper plot in your place. If you don't have a graph paper that you can use for paper plotting, just take a couple of pages out of the lab book that most people are using together with their lab report forms for other sections. I don't require a lab notebook, but if you know a friend from another section who has a professor that's using the lab notebook, if you rip out a couple of pages out of that, that will give you the paper graph that you'll be able to use for your paper plot. Okay, so what are we going to do with this information? What you're going to do is, so that information came out of this. So all you're going to do is you're going to put that information into the Excel spreadsheet. So this is a page out of the Excel spreadsheet. So all you do is input it just like this. So you got volume, pressure, 1 over pressure. You're going to put it in exactly. Now, I actually have the wrong number of significant figures in this plot, so never mind. Don't worry about the number of significant figures because you really don't have that many significant figures. I also have this on the Excel spreadsheet plot that I have on my website. I haven't put it up there yet, but it'll be up there soon. This top part is actually what shows up in this part of the chart. I just put it here. This data does not match your data, the one that I gave you for your class, but it's very similar because it's the same sort of experiment with the same equipment. Okay, so what you do to do an Excel spreadsheet plot, and this is actually fairly straightforward. It's not as complicated as you may think. It's actually pretty straightforward. All you do is you input your numbers into the Excel spreadsheet by the column as shown here. This exactly matches the column that you would have input into this part of your lab report form, exactly in the correct order here. Make sure that the format for the numbers, for the column numbers, are actually, it says format, and you choose for the format that these are numbers. And then all you have to do is you select all three columns, including the title of the column. So you select all three columns, and you know how you do. You hover your mouse over it, click on it, and then just drag it until you get all three columns. And then all you do is, let me just zoom out for a minute here. All you do is in Excel Spreadsheet, you select columns, then you go to Insert, and then you choose Charts. Now when you do charts, the chart that you're choosing is, there's a drawing that looks like this, so you choose that chart, and when you choose that, you'll see that it actually says scatter, because you're trying to do a scatter plot. Among the scatter plot options, I would suggest that you choose the one that looks sort of like this, that has a bunch of little dots and a couple of lines, wavy lines in it. So this is your scatter plot. And then you can do, and then once you select that, you will have your chart. Now, the chart that you get won't have the actual, it won't have the axes, it won't have anything on there except just the chart. Then you're going to add chart elements. This is the most recent variation of Microsoft Office Suite. So if you use the most recent version of our Microsoft Suite, this is what you'll get. So then you'll say Add Chart Elements, and then you would want to add Axis Title as one of your chart elements. You would want to add Primary Horizontal Axes. And then all you have to do is just put in the title of your primary horizontal axis is, and that should be pressure over, or 1 over pressure in atmospheres, where pressure is in atmospheres. 1 over P would be 1 over atmospheres. And then you select, you add primary horizontal would actually be volume in milliliters. All right, then your primary vertical axes would just be pressure or 1 over pressure in atmospheres. And then you can, if you want, you can put in display equations on chart. And then you can do trend line options. And you can ask to display equations. Okay, so once you do all of that, what you're going to get is a chart that looks like this. So the chart that you have, this has pressure or 1 over pressure in atmospheres as the axes. This has the axes of volume in milliliters. You've got your, this is a plot of, and it says the little square plot is 1 over pressure, so this is 1 over pressure versus volume. And this, the ones in triangles, are pressure versus volume. I also have on here the linear trend line, and the linear trend line equation is given here. The linear trend line for this, this plot actually looks like this, and the equation for that linear trend line is given here. Now, how do I do this Excel spreadsheet plot easily without actually maybe even doing the insert business? Well, what you can do is if you go to my website, So what you would do is you would go to http and then just basically myname.com. No blanks, just my name, JulietHahn.com. And then you scroll down to, and it is very large, hyperlinked, and it says something like general chemistry, lecture, and lab information. And it's a hyperlink. So it's bold blue, very large letters, and it says General Chemistry Lecture and Lab Information Hyperlink. It doesn't say hyperlink, but it says it is a hyperlink. So when you click on it, you will get, at the very top, you will get General Chemistry 1 Lecture Spring 2015, and then you'll see a bunch of exams and quizzes and things like that. And then if you scroll down further, you'll get General Chemistry 1 Lab Spring 2015. And then you will see something that says Boyle's Law Plot. And this Boyle's Law Plot is actually a hyperlink. So when you click on that, what you will get is you will get an Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet and plot that you will find when you get to that website is going to look just like the Excel spreadsheet that I just showed you. It'll look just like that. And it will have on top the Excel spreadsheet actual numbers. So it'll look just like this. And it'll also have a plot associated with it. The plot will look just like this. So when you get to the hyperlink and click on the hyperlink Boyle's Law Plot, you will get this, and you will get this. Now what you can do to get a very easy version of the Excel spreadsheet plot is you can just go in here. Now these volumes are my experimental data that I input for doing that plot. What you can do is, instead of having a 1 here, your Excel spreadsheet number that I gave you for the volume in milliliters was 2 milliliters. So you can go ahead and put in your 2. The next volume that we got was 5, so you can put in your 5. And so on. So you can go ahead and put in all the data as you would expect it to be. Where you have pressure, you're going to put in your own data. You can just go ahead and do that. And what you will find is that when you put your own data into my chart, this plot will actually change to match whatever data you input here. So this plot will change to match the data your own data that you input here. So what that means is you don't have to figure out how to do the select, insert, scatter plot and all of that. So instead of doing that, you can just insert your own data into the chart, plot out this chart, plot out this plot, and there you are. Now what you probably would want to do is you would want to maybe put in your own title here. You might want to put Juliet's Boyle's Law Plot or something like that, so that I can tell that it's you that actually did the modification to the Excel spreadsheet. And why exactly am I allowing you to get away with just using my plot and just inserting your own data? Well, how would you figure out how to use an Excel spreadsheet if you've never done it before and you're trying to figure out how to do it? Well, this is an easy way without me actually hovering with my hands over your hand as you do the selection. I mean, the Excel spreadsheet plot is really, if you've done it once, it's trivial. It's not that hard to do. But it is something that you can use for years as you do all sorts of other plots. So this is an easy way of doing it. And I will post that Excel spreadsheet plot with other data, this data that does not match your data. I'll post that, and you should be able to do that. Now, when you are turning in your lab report form, if you do not attach, there are certain points associated with the Excel spreadsheet. So the number of points that are associated with your Excel spreadsheet is 20 points for the plot. It says it right here. 20 points for the plot. This part of your graph, this part of the graph, it is worth 10 points for this. Either this or this is worth 10 points. So if you do this and then print out the plot, attach it to your lab report form and turn it in, you will earn the 30 points for the plot.